This will be a run-through on BuzzBid's reporting capability, showing the reports we have to date. We are continually adding to these as requested. For this reporting exercise, I'm going to be using the medical clinic here as an example project. This bid had several bid exercises in it, 1.0 through 1.3. The final winning bid is marked with the radio button, and I'm going to hide the previous bid exercises, and I'll show you why I'm doing this whenever we get over to the Reports tab. So I'm going to click here. So I've cut it down to the winning bid. I'll also show you that this particular bid has one alternate called Remove Parapet Framing, which is a credit give back. From here, I'll click on the Reports tab, and let's take a look at the layout here. We have report selections on the left, reporting filters at the top, and of course, these are your exports over here. I'm going to start off with the project totals report here, and this was designed to be the simplest of reports to give you a project total for the job in a very simplistic format. This is per section with a couple of indirect costs shown at the bottom, an OSEP giveback and a bond. And this is for the base bid here. When I click the bid navigator, that's this tool up here, I can also look at the alternate like this. So I can look at just the project totals for the alternate or the base bid with this bid navigator. If I want to see them both together, and the report title says project totals, the medical clinic base bid. When I turn on include active alternates, now you can see the alternate is listed here, and here's a total showing the base bid, the alternate give back, and the total for the job. In the end, this number here will equal this number up here if you have include active alternates on. I've turned the include active alternates off, and I'm looking at the base bid, so I did want to show you the location filtering here. So if you click by location, it will display the bid broken out by section, by floor like this. Remember, I can also display a single spec section or a single location here. I'm going to close the project totals, moving on to the bid totals report. This comes in two varieties, a summary and a detail. The summary can display hours or days, and it shows you a breakdown of sections with man days, cost, and here's my indirect cost at the bottom. I can break this out by location or phase, and I can also do subgroups over here. The filters for days, labor, material, equipment, sub, and other detail and units are active only when I click on the detail version of the bid totals. Clicking on the detail here will display the actual assemblies within the bid, starting off with the assembly numbers here. Any general conditions, any subcontractors will all be listed here with my indirects listed below. I can display the hours here, man days or hours, and I can group them by group one or a subgroup here. I'll close up the bid totals report, and let's move on to the bid recap. The bid recap has two varieties, a summary and details. This one's kind of interesting in that I can break it out by section and location only, but this is the detail version, and the summary version are pretty much the same thing. The summary was designed so I'll turn on include active alternates, and this gives me a summary of the section markups for the base bid plus the alternate rolled together, so I have one report that shows me the total amount of overhead and profit within the job. If I break out the detail this way, it will split this out and show me the base bid markups and the alternate markups. Moving on to the assembly review report here, we have three flavors of this one. The summary will give you a list of all of your assemblies like this and your bid total. I could include alternates if I wanted to, and it would display the breakout of those as well. They can be grouped by any of the listed items here, section, assembly class, page, location, or phase. If I show the detail on the assembly review, it's going to show me the material breakdown of each one of these items. It looks like this. Now I have a complete printout just as if I were looking at the assembly detail. In other words, my partition A3 here, it shows me the lower half of the window, the item, how it was configured, the variation, and the total here. If I look at the quantity, this is simply a list showing the assembly and the quantity 1, 2, and 3. The crew setup report will display days or hours and has 3 different varieties it'll display in. The summary will show you the labor classes and their hours for regular time, overtime, double time, as well as their crew work week setup. If you go to the detail report, this will give you a summary of how each labor class is set up within the project. And if you go to the totals report, this will show you a breakdown of all of your labor and taxes per line item. The next 4 reports have the no filtering symbol here, which means that these filters have no effect on them. The first one is the production guide. We'll take a look at the detail first, which breaks down each assembly, showing the production expected within that assembly. If you encounter a blue line that's italicized, this means that the assembly had multiple line items using that single cost code within a single assembly, which totals all that labor and divides it into the lineal foot or square foot of the assembly and expresses the production per assembly as opposed to the production expressed per unit of measure for the line item. This report can also be grouped by location and phase. The summary, however, you can see this report is several pages long. We had a request from a contractor to summarize this into a single page so he would have a single walkout budget to hand to a PM that says, basically, this is an averages that you need to hit for all your interior partitions. For interior wall framing, I'm looking for 50 foot per man day. Some are a little faster, some are slower, but the average is this. Our next report is the general conditions cost. In other words, when you open this report, it just has one view here. There's no filtering on it, and it should be a recreation. If you look at the estimate and you click on general conditions here, this view right here is exactly what the general condition report is. It's just a recap so you can see how you had your general conditions configured for this project. I will close this one and let's move on to the job cost report. This gives you the ability to break out tax, escalation, or report by accounting codes, and of course do some filtering or grouping down here. Section, location, and phase. This will show your cost for the labor, material, equipment, sub, and other cost within a project. And it starts off with labor, and you will see material, equipment, sub, and other. Our next report is called the multi-count report. Whenever I click on this, you'll notice that it gives me a list of all of the multi-count views typically used for repeating floors, or typical suites or units within a hotel or hospital. In this case, we have the locations down the left-hand side, typicals across the top, and the unit counts here for each. And I'll show you where these come from. I'll go ahead and click on the Plans tab here. And here I have under the Views tab right here, here's my multi-count reusable templates. This is my type C floor plan. You'll notice I put it inside of a multi-count view. I added the locations with this tool right here and told it the number of units that would occur on each floor. Any changes inside of this, of course, will spread that across the entire bid. The next 5 reports, labor, material, equipment, sub, and other, all have to do with items that were put inside of an assembly. Let's start off with the labor review here. It can express in days and hours. It allows for grouping and subgrouping. In this case, of course, I have it grouped by assembly class here. I could group it by cost code like this. And we could break that across areas if you want. This is a good time to show you how the filtering works. I'll stop for a second on this, and if I wanted to look at only the second floor, it will filter this report down to the second floor. Anytime you filter a report, we put the big red filtered flag up here, and we told you what we're filtering for in this area right here. The reason for this is we didn't want you to ever get a report and not notice that it had been filtered down and was not the complete total for the project. You can turn on and off the cost here. So if you want to turn this off, you can turn off that. You can show cost or not. You can display hours or days here. I'll go ahead and close the labor review. I'll clear my filters and go to the material review. This has the same situation here. Two groups of filtering, landscape or you can show the cost here or not. Somebody requested the material list here to be able to be faxed to a supply house. They didn't want to use the material quoting system. They like the fax from old school. So you can turn off the cost here, and in this case, it turns it off. So you could use this as a fax to a supplier if you wanted to get prices in writing. Some material reports also get kind of lengthy on the description, so there is an option here to turn it landscape, which gives you more room in those columns so they display better. We'll close the material review and go to the equipment review here. This job has no equipment, but equipment, subs, and other all have to do with items that were entered inside of an assembly detail. We did mention that labor, material, equipment, sub, and other reports down here all have to do with items that were put inside of an assembly. But the question comes up on the Estimates tab when I enter a subcontractor like this for my demo sub. Where does he show up in the reports? I'll go to the reports and show you on the bid totals report. Under the detail, it shows me assemblies first here. Then subcontractors will be listed as SC, here's my demo sub, followed by general condition items. The last report that we'll touch base on is the spray fireproofing report for the field, and it looks like this, showing you all the dimensions that were put in there for each and every beam. This comes in two flavors. It comes in as estimated and also as optimized. Of course, if we take this for the field, we don't really need 27 different thicknesses, so we optimize it down and it looks like this for the field. The report for this over here, this is for the images, and you can filter it for a specific building area. If you go to the reports, it will show you the optimized colors here. Let me go back this way. And it shows you the material increase to optimize the beams down. If I go back, this is for one floor, of course, or one page. If I go back to as estimated and you look at it, you can see quite a much larger list of thicknesses that were entered. I would like to also mention that we have a job cost export here, and we build these to your request. We've completed requests for Penta A, B, and C, several versions of Plexus for customers, generic. We have a generic material list. These are exports that would go potentially into job cost systems. So whatever your preference is, we'll get to work on that as soon as we get a layout from you. Also, all of these reports will go out in an Excel format. So if you click here, it'll produce this report in Excel in case you want to manipulate it prior to turning it over. In the beginning of the video, as you recall, I turned off the previous bid iterations 1.0, 1.1, and 1.2. The reason I did that, the reason I hide those is so that when I'm over here on the reporting tab or any of the other tabs throughout the program, when I click this bid navigator here, I only have to deal with the current bid and its alternates. Otherwise, I would see bid 1.0, 1.1, 2, 3, and this list gets kind of confusing. So for the sake of making things easier to deal with, we like to hide the inactive bids, and that gives us the ability to cut our bid navigator down here. It makes it cleaner and easier to work with. That wraps it up for BuzzBid reporting. I look forward to the next training.